As a refugee, you can seek asylum because of your sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression if you have been persecuted in your home country or by the community. In Sweden, you seek asylum at the Migration Board.
The criteria that must be fulfilled for someone to be a refugee is that they must have a well-founded fear of persecution in the country of origin that they have fled from and where they are a citizen. It can be death threats, but in most cases it's usually the actual threat of violence, and most people who apply for asylum have already been subjected to some kind of persecution. And persecution is a legal term, so it's quite many things which can be persecution. It can be death threats, it can be threats of violence and serious harm to the person. So that is the definition of persecution. In Sweden, an asylum seeker who has what is called a normal asylum trial, which means it's not a Dublin case, for example, they have a right to a public counsel. And that means that it's the state that pays the costs for the person to get legal assistance.
Dublin regulation is a mechanism by the European territory, member states, to determine which member state is responsible for examining an asylum application. If an asylum seeker comes in a member state, they take their fingerprints and they assess if they have data in any member state. If it is registered that they have data in another member state, they are transferred upon a request by this hosting country to the other member state who is responsible for the asylum application. This whole process is supposed to be done within 6 months. And if the other country member state agrees to the transfer, then the person is supposed to be transferred within 6 months. That's basically the Dublin regulation.
For any person who has just arrived in Sweden and is thinking about applying for asylum, I would give the advice to contact RFSL immediately and as soon as possible before applying for asylum. And the reason for that is that they need legal advice before going to the Migration Board.
It is important to have a competent LGBT lawyer because they will be knowledgeable about the whole process. They have met so many asylum seekers in the same situation. They have had a lot of stories about different countries. They know the laws. They are knowledgeable about the country information. It's so important for a lawyer to have knowledge about the country information. And secondly, it is also important before the interview for a lawyer to prepare you, because it's not easy for asylum seekers, especially LGBT people, to come out to Migration Board openly.
Yeah, the first time when I came here in Sweden, I didn't know about LFSL, and I met a friend and I went to, he took me to migration, and since I didn't know about the rights of being LGBTQ, I lied there, and then after when I got denied, I met a friend who directed me to LGBT here in LFSL, and when I came here to LFSL helped me to know my rights, and I got confidence, and I now started a new asylum.
Important things to be aware of in the asylum process is that in best case you will get a lawyer who has the experience and knowledge about LGBTIQ asylum claims. But if you don't have that, it's even more important that you get in contact with RFSL as soon as possible in the process in order to get legal advice, for example. And what will determine your case is basically the country that you come from, because your case will be assessed either according to a potential country which Migration Board might deem as safe, or Migration Board knows that persecution is very real in the country where you come from for LGBTIQ people. And in that case, the biggest risk of getting a negative in your case would be that Migration Board says that you're not credible. And it is extra important for you to be aware that you have to talk about your feelings and emotions about discovering and realizing your LGBT identity in the interview with Migration Board.
RFSL newcomers, to me as a person, I see the group as my family. I see it as a home to so many of my clients. Whenever I meet them, I feel it's part of my life. They have been my clients, most of them. They are friends, and it's kind of a group where you could send every client you have and you feel they are going to get help. It could be social support. It could be how, like, they learn how to express themselves.
And it's like a very big opportunity to be a member of this newcomer group, because it's like we are like a family. We know each other, we support each other, we pass our times together, we plan activities, and we don't feel alone.
What I like about my job is that I feel that I really have the possibility of making a difference in someone's life, because asylum is about life and death for most people. Seeking asylum is a human right, and it's crucial for the success of your asylum process that you get LGBTIQ competent legal advice from the very beginning of your asylum process.